Thank you for this question. I think it's a totally legitimate one, and I really liked the comment that someone left under your question, but I'm going to take my incoherent and jumbled stab at this question. Why do I call the moon a being? Well, first and foremost, I want to just clarify that my language is that of a poetic language, that I understand that there are many of us, especially in Western culture, who have been taught and trained to see the moon through a lens of scientific materialism, right? That the moon is just a rock that is not a being but a thing, and that it refracts solar light onto Earth. And depending on where we are in that cycle is going to depend on the type of light that we get. I understand that. But our earliest ancestors, the ones that created the stories through oral traditions from all over the world, knew that the moon was more than just this thing. But it was a being. It was a being that taught them about cycles. Cycles on the planet, cycles for the year, cycles within the feminine body. And they made stories about this. And they also made stories about the moon being the purveyor of wildness, of being the god of water. And so for me, because I am very, very interested in storytelling and mythos and the way in which all of our stories help us to create, on our path to evolutionary consciousness, right? Because as we evolve, our stories of the moon are going to evolve as well. And those of us who do magical work, magical lunar work, understand as well that the moon has been in charge and maybe has represented in a mythological and poetic way, that it illuminates the dark recesses of our psyche. And so therefore, there's a lot of people who do lunar work as a shadow work. That moonlight illuminates that within the recesses of our psyche that needs to come up and be brought into light. And so there's so much more, and there's so many ways to see the world. And there's so many more ways to see the world than just through a scientific materialist lens that would assert that it is nothing more than a rock that reflects solar light. Those of us who are more poetically inclined and magically inclined understand that there's so much more to living on this earth than seeing things to the sum of its parts. Like human beings are more than the sum of their parts, the moon is also more than the sum of its parts, right? And I just called it an it. But it's not an it, it's a being. It's a being that holds within it so much mystery and has contained within it so many stories that have helped human beings evolve in their consciousness. And I want to honor that. And so calling the moon anything else other than a being, I think, would be doing a grave disservice. But that is just my answer, and you're entitled to your own, and thank you for your question.